See, God has given man a free will, and then God seeks to instruct man in wisdom so that man will choose what is right, will choose what is good, and will ultimately, of course, choose what pleases God, because God is the ultimate standard. The God of Judaism, the God of Islam, the God of Calvinism are all the same God. I am not speaking of identity specifically, I'm speaking of his nature and his character. Now, I know you guys might take that as a shocking statement, but it's true. Now I want you to think about this. The God of Islam is a dictator. You know what Islam means? Submission. The God of Islam is a dictator. He demands obedience or else. That's the God of Islam. The God of Judaism is a dictator, just like the God of Islam. He's a God that says, here's my law, live up to my law, and you will be pleasing to me, and everything will be fine. You can go to paradise. The God of Calvinism is also a dictator. It's all about his sovereignty. It's all about his sovereignty. What he chooses, and that's it. You see, the God of true Christianity is different than all those. The God of true Christianity is not a dictator. He is a father-instructor. He created man so that he could instruct man gently over time to teach him what is good and what is right, so that he will choose what is good and what is right. And when he reaches the point where man will no longer choose what is right, where man has decided that he is going to essentially depart from God because he wants to go his own way, then and only then does God destroy man. The God of the Bible is a father. He's an instructor. He's not an arbitrary judge. He's not a dictator. He doesn't judge just because I say so. He doesn't tell you to jump because he says so. If he tells you to do something, it's because he wants to inform you. He wants to conform you so that you will be like him, because he ultimately is what is good. The dictator that we see in Judaism, the dictator that we see in Islam, the dictator that we see in Calvinism, has one goal and one goal in mind only. You know what that is? His glory. His glory. What is God's ultimate goal? His glory. Fall down and worship me. That's the God of Islam. That's the God of Calvinism, and that's the God of Judaism. That's not the God of the Bible. Does God want us to worship him and him alone? Yes, but his goal is not his ego. His goal is not to get glory and honor for himself. His goal is that we learn what is truly good and what is truly evil, and we learn to distinguish between these two things. And because he is the epitome of what is good, he tells us to look to him for what is good. He wants us to learn. He is instructing us like a parent instructs his child, like a parent punishes his child and rewards his child when he is good. With God, it's all for our benefit as opposed to all for his ego. You see the difference? God is a loving and a giving God and a just God. What we see Paul explaining in chapter 3 of Romans is how God can be both a just God, that is, he has to punish sin, and at the same time be a loving Father. Paul tells us how he did that. Remember in chapter 3 he talked about being the one who is just and the justifier of the believing ones. How can God be both just, that is, bring judgment and punishment, and at the same time justify? By sending his Son. Basically taking our punishment upon himself. He's still just. He is suffering our punishment. He's still just. The punishment still comes. But the sacrifice of his Son shows his love and his mercy. These are the things that David discovered in Psalm 51.